Welcome to Safety is Everywhere YouTube channel. Dear friends, don't forget to subscribe this channel and share the link with your safety professional friends.
Hello everybody, welcome to another very important lecture, that is topic is safety function deployment. So what is safety function deployment, how it is to be applied in industrial situation, and the different steps, and finally the design solutions, interventions, finding out interventions for safety improvement will be discussed. So, see the contents. First we will introduce the SFD, that is safety function deployment, and then the steps to be followed to do it, and we will give one example, desulfurizing plant, and then the design principles, particularly with reference to the hazard control hierarchy, 9 principles what we have discussed earlier, those will be considered here, and then using this concept, and finally how we will find out the different interventions which we are telling the design solutions, and that will be discussed. So, it is a little bit lengthy one. So, I am expecting that 45 minutes of time I will be able to complete it. So, what is safety function deployment? Safety function deployment is a planning tool. It is a planning tool that focuses on designing safety into system by incorporating stakeholder concerns about safety and principles of safety by design. Okay. So, please understand, it is a planning tool. That means this will help you in doing what it will do. It will help you in doing safety by design, and here by safety by design means safety by design and redesign, that is what we are basically trying to say. And what it considers stakeholders concerns about safety, and the objective is identification of alternative design solutions for improving work system safety, or other way we can say that system safety. Here system is maybe work system, maybe your product, or maybe your that workplace where you are working, but it is a system. So, the concept what we have borrowed, that is QFD, quality function deployment. Basically we have, you know, that quality function deployment is a very important topic in quality engineering. The sole purpose is there that how to design quality into the product through QFD. So, what I have done particularly while developing the safety function deployment, I have taken the concept of QFD into consideration, but not in one to one or ditto manner. Here we have utilized the risk hazard identification and risk assessment techniques. We have utilized the principle, that is hazard control hierarchy, and we have also utilized that whatever tools and techniques you have learned so far. So, one way or other they can be used in this concept. So, I am not interested to explain you what is QFD, but for the timing let me tell you that QFD is known for quality function deployment, which is a tool that is used to design quality in the product that you are going to produce. So, the detail of quality function deployment can be available. It is available in many standard textbooks, you may go through it, but this concept I have applied in developing safety function deployment, and our primary purpose here is, like in QFD design quality into product, here also design safety into the system where people will be working. Okay. So, I request all of you to go through QFD, because that will give you some more insights what we have developed here, but nevertheless this is self sufficient and you will be able to understand. So, first let us explain the steps. So, while explaining the steps, I will try to relate to the previous lectures or the topics what we have covered, but for the time being, you just think that if you are not getting all the steps together, definitely after the end of the class all those steps will be, most of the steps will be clear to you, and in maybe in the subsequent class also some more steps will be clear to you. But this is a very important topic, particularly from blueprint for safety by design point of view. So, our step is determine stakeholder concerns about safety. So, who are the stakeholders? Everybody involved in the system, like the workers or employees, the management, the union, the supplier, everybody who was basically one way or other connected with the system, they are stakeholders. So, what is their concern? Concern in QFD terminology, that is what, but in our terminology these are nothing but the accident scenarios. So, determine stakeholder concern about safety, that is what's. What the being, and suppose you are the worker or you are the that is supervisor there, what will be your concern? Definitely you do not want that there will be any accident, no accident scenario is permitted. So, that is your concern. Then estimates the importance rating of what's, means what? Importance rating of accident scenario. So, you have seen the risk assessment. So, every accident scenario has a risk, so that is the importance. Then benchmark what's with similar work systems. So, for a particular accident scenario, for example, suppose fire is one impact accident scenario. So, now you see that what is the risk of that fire occurring in your system. Then you have similar work system in your organization or maybe in other organization. Now, you check that what is the risk for fire on that organization. Suppose there is there is the emission of gas into the work environment. So, in your system, what is the risk of emission? Maybe in similar other work system, what is the risk of emission? Then that is that you can compare and find out the best managed work system, that is will be the benchmark. So, what is the need? Need is benchmarking. Why? Because you know that whether your risk is the lowest one or it can be reduced further. Then find out what with unacceptable risk using ALARP principles. We have discussed ALARP. There will be acceptable zone, tolerable zone, unacceptable zone. So, you should find out what are the accident scenarios whose risk is under unacceptable zone. So, those things action must be taken immediately. So, you find out those. Also find out some which are under tolerable zone. Then identify design features and preventive measure. These are basically hows. What do you mean? So, I know what is accidents, what is means here accident scenarios. I know what is the risk of every accident scenario. Now, I have already prioritized with benchmark system whether the risk of my accident scenarios of my systems are more or it is the lowest level or it can be reduced. Then you have used another principle called ALARP. Using ALARP, what you are saying that whether the unacceptable risk accident scenarios are there or not. Then what you require to do? You require to reduce the risk. How do you reduce the risk? That is basically how. What is how in our case? What are the design feature and preventive measures that you should incorporate into your system so that the risk level will be going down. Then that is means identify design solutions. Then for each what find out the deployment of house. So, suppose you know okay there are 9 design features, design principles, starting from avoid hazards to last one is the modify the quality of hazard. So, you have to know how many principles are applicable, and now using those principles how can you find out the design solution, that will be that is house. So, what is equivalent to accident scenario and how is equivalent to design solution. So ultimately using this approach you may find out some solution and it may so happen that better solutions are available in other system. So that's why whether your solution is the best one or not, that why you require to know the benchmark house with other similar work system and determine how much, that means how much risk can be reduced. So you have found out how you through deployment, that through SFD, safety function deployment concept, you found out some design solutions. But it may so happen that your design solution is inferior in the sense that the risk reduction that is possible based on your design solution is not that effective which is already available in some other benchmark work systems. So that means after getting the house you have to see that what is there in the benchmark. So that comparison will help you in modifying the design solution and you can go for better design solution. Then what happen? Calculate the weighted score each of the design solution. It may so happen that for a particular scenario, accident scenario, or with back calculation for a particular hazard, you will may have get different design solutions because you have 9 principles. So you can use 9 principles together. You may find out a combination of principles will give you one design solution, another combination will give another design solution. So now you may find out that the design solutions are effective and there are alternative situations available, alternative solutions available. So in that case, select the DSS to be incorporated in the work system based on scores. So that means you will select which one will be the best design solution that is to be chosen. So then identify design and then for that particular solution identify the design and operating specifications. It is a very much engineering issue. So that means for that particular solution the concerned engineers will see that what will be the design and operating specification for it, because when you incorporate any design solution, what will happen ultimately, it may bring new hazard, at the same time it may create dependency also. So there will be problem. That's why the expert engineers or design engineers and the operating people, they will be combining together, they will find out the design and operating specification. First of all, your that design solution may not be accepted by them. When it is accepted, what will be the design and operating specification for the DS that is to be identified. Then repeat this for all other hazards. Okay. So let me repeat again. You will be having suppose m number of hazards. This m number of hazards may lead to n number of accident scenarios. For accident scenario is the concern, it is basically what, which is concern for all the people, stakeholders. Worker will not want the fire will be there, supervisor will not want this, management will not want this, there should not be explosion, there should be not be fall from height. So these are all accident scenarios and concern. So that is what you do not you know the risk of every what means every accident scenario. So you know whether the risk is acceptable or not acceptable. You can compare with similar work system and find out that what is the risk level there. So these two helps you to understand that what level of risk can be reduced. In order to reduce the risk of accident scenarios and in turn the risk related to hazards, what you require to do, you require to find out some preventive and mitigative measures, prevention and mitigation measures. So these prevention and mitigation measures we are saying design solutions, DS. So how do identify the design solutions, what is to be adopted there? For that purpose what you are doing, that purpose you are using hazard control hierarchy, that 9 principles, 9 P's what given in hazard control hierarchy. So for every accident scenario and the resulting hazards, you see that what hierarchy is applicable there, and accordingly find out that what is the best principle, design principle that will be used. So you also find out the alternative other design principle that can be used also. You find a set of design solutions. Okay. And then once you have a set of design solutions, and if you find out the set in such a manner that there are multiple sets or multiple design solutions and which are if you assume that they are equivalent, means any one of them lead ultimately reduce the risk level to that extent for which it is needed, and then you can choose the best one out of the several alternatives. So, the best one selection, like from 8 to 10, these steps we will be discussing in the next class, but this is to be done for all the hazards. Now, let us see one after another. I will be little faster here, because you see that the accident scenario and risk is nothing but once you identify hazard, then only you will be able to identify the accident scenarios, and then once you know the accident scenarios, then you will find out the probabilities and get the risk of these things. So, that means hazard identification is included here, risk assessment is included here, risk prioritization with LRP is also included here, and this hazard control hierarchy, energy control model is also included here, and finally combining all those things you are going to get the design solutions. Then ranking of design solutions is also included there. It's a holistic one, and it is really I think it's really a very useful one for safety engineers. Okay. So, very quickly I have to proceed, but why I will go for quickly, because you know hazard identification, you know risk assessment, you know hazard energy control model and hazard control hierarchy also. So, what I have to do, how I am mapping the things, that is what I have to explain it. So, that is what I am doing now. So, I will not explain it further. So, it is basically stakeholders, who are stakeholders and what are the voice of stakeholder, accident scenarios. And you have seen earlier that event tree is used to find out the accident scenarios given the center event or top event known. So, this center and top event will come from the hazards. Now, let us consider a case here. The case is it is basically a desulfurization unit, where molten metal from the blast furnace, this will come to that DS plant, and then what happened, this hot metal will be basically treated with the help of calcium carbide, magnesium, CO, and all those inputs. The primary purpose is the sulfur content in the hot metal, that is to be reduced. Okay. So, let us see that this is a schematic diagram for the hot metal. So, presence of sulfur, that is the issue. Presence of sulfur particle in the hot metal causes cracks and pinholes in the finished products, affect the ductility and toughness. Desulfurization involves submerged pneumatic injection of fine grained reagents into the hot metal. The carrier gas N2 Mg vapor form a bubble film like this. So, for the time being you understand that from blast furnace hot metal is coming to the desulfurization unit. Purpose is reduce the sulfur content in the hot metal, because sulfur content in hot metal is not good for the resulting products what you produce in a steel melting shop or in a steel plant. Okay. So, what are the inputs? Inputs are these, and this is the desulfurization unit, where you see that magnesium silo, CaC2 silo, and then ultimately there are different carrying lines, nitrogen gas lines, CaCO2 lines, so many things are there. Okay. So, all those ultimately for certain purpose it is there. So, all those ultimately are the hazard elements, and there will be several initiating mechanisms, and ultimately several threats can may be realized, not will be, may be realized. So, what is the output? Primary output, hot metal with less sulfur content, and this is the procedure. Once things come to the first one is hot metal will come to the DS station, and at the DS station slag removal, then you have to prepare the treatment plant, that is calculating the necessary compounds depending on the hot metal composition. You have to find out what are the inputs to be added there. Then injection process will start, and ultimately desulfurization, the raking of DS, that deep lensing will be done, and then finally after that evaluation of this is means what is the final sulfur content and what are the other that is outputs like iron losses and other things that is to be computed. Okay. So, this is nutshell what is the system. I am not going into the detail of the system because this is not required at present, and it is basically a deseparation plant and used in primarily in the steel plant. So, what I want to do, I want to show the SFD with reference to this plant. So, let us see what we will do. Now, see that our aim is here. So, what are the hazardous element? You recall the first few lectures. So, hazardous element is the nitrogen gas line, conveying line, induced drought, magnesium silo. These are the few things. We have not, we obviously hot metal is also hazardous element, but from this point of view we are concentrating on this in the desulfurization unit. What are the things are there? Hot metal is obviously it is there. So, what are the initiating mechanism? Moisture in nitrogen gas line, that is not desirable. Leakage of calcium carbide conveying line, that is not desirable. Leakage of magnesium in conveying line, pressurization in induced draft, oxygen in magnesium silo. These are the few initiating mechanisms, and ultimately all those things lead to different kind of threats like process shutdown, emission in work area environment, low impact fire, then bursting, high impact fire. So, let me just repeat for a minute. This is our system. What you require to do? You require to find out all the hazards, and you require to find out what are the initiative mechanisms that can take place, and finally you require to find out what are the threats or that is means the accident scenario that could happen. So, here ultimately I have enlisted few hazards like hazardous element, few or the important initiating mechanisms and important accident scenarios. By giving these three, I am not saying that the entirety is covered here from the hazards element, initiating mechanism and target threat point of view, but it is the most of the important things are covered. Okay. So, then what is the stakeholder concern here? Stakeholder concern is this box. This box is stakeholder concern. So, they do not want this thing to happen. Suppose that means you have to know now that what is the risk of all these things happening. Okay. So, let us see how do we find out the risk of all those things happening. So, we have considered one of the hazard that in nitrogen gas line, that moisture in nitrogen gas line. So, this is our initiating mechanism, that moisture in nitrogen gas line. So, what is the probability or frequency of moisture in nitrogen line gas, that is to be estimated also. So, okay, for the time being you say that moisture in nitrogen gas line, and that is estimated because using fault tree you can estimate this one. Then moisture analyzer, N2 bypass line and temperature. So, these are the some of the basically protection thing. So, now what you will do, if depending on the success and failure of this and the obviously that ignition source. So, then what are the situation? One of the situation is process shutdown, emission in work environment, high impact fire, emission in work environment, high impact fire, emission, high impact fire. Okay, so that means high and low impact fire. So, that will be there. Okay. So, resultant this, and then we knowing this probability also or the frequency, you know what are the scenarios of this. Okay, so this probability value, this value I have not put here, but we have computed it. So, then ultimately we found out that different scenarios what is going to happen. So, that is this inventory with reference to moisture in nitrogen line gas. So, similarly, what are the other initiating mechanism? Leakage, calcium carbide, magnesium in leakage, pressurization induced drop, oxygen in magnesium shallow. For all others, similar inventory can be computed. And what we will find out that considering all those things, so ultimately what will be the result? Result is this. So, these many accident scenarios or stakeholder concerns are identified, low impact, high impact, like this, and all those things ultimately that from initiating event point of view, these three leads to process shutdown. These two hazard or initiating mechanism lead to emission. These two low impact fire. This one lead to bursting. These three hazard lead to high impact fire. Okay. So, moisture in nitrogen gas line leads to high impact fire. Similarly, moisture. Okay. So, that means you have accident scenarios and you have initiating mechanisms or as such hazard element and initiating mechanism combined is the hazard we are writing. And here what happened, the initiating mechanism, why this pressurization of ID will take place, leakage will take place, you can develop fault tree and find out the root causes. Okay. So, now what we want? We want to see that how this hazard, how hazard control hierarchy will be used. What is this? This is accident scenario. Now, let us go to the next, importance measures. Sorry. Once you know the scenarios, importance means what? Risk. So, let us compute risk. We have seen that from inventory you have computed the risk. Risk is probability of that scenario times loss. I have given you the loss calculation part, consequence modeling. So, what are the different kind of losses that you require to calculate? That you calculate, and in monetary term it is possible or in some index value you create, and then once you multiply it with the probability of that scenario occurring times the loss, you will get the risk. So, we have seen the risk value here. Now, then what we said, that you just compare your risk value with the benchmark. We did not get any benchmark such system, but hypothetically we have created two another similar system, and then we compare this is our system vis-a-vis the comparable system. Then we found out that from the 1 is most severe and 5 is less severe in terms of risk. So, that means from this scenario point of view you are doing fine, others are also doing fine. This scenario point of view you are best, this scenario point of view all are equally worst, and this scenario point of view DSU2 is the best, and this scenario point of view DS3 is the best. So, that means what DS2 and 3 is doing with reference to this and this, if you know, then you will be in a better position to reduce the risk. Okay. So, process shutdown risk can be reduced up to the risk of this unit, high impact fire can be reduced up to this unit. This is one comparison, but you may go for LR principle also, and then you check that with reference to all those accident scenarios, what is the status? They are in LRP and acceptable, and this LRP. LR means the LRP or tolerable region. Okay. So, if we consider that this risk is equivalent to fatality risk, then using the Dutch criteria we can use this. If it is 10 to the power less than 10 to the power minus 4, it is acceptable, which is this. If it is if it is less than 10 to the power minus 7, acceptable, this is acceptable one, but if it is 10 to the power 4 or more, this is intolerable, no one is there, but most of the things are falling under LRP. That is why LRP. So, you want to reduce this risk. Okay, this is the principle. So, You have hazard, find out the accident scenarios through the methods what we have already considered. Then accident scenario risk you understand, and then you say that what are the risks that are acceptable, what are not acceptable, what are in the alert zone, and then you want to reduce this. Okay. So, now use the hazard control hierarchy principles. So, all those 9 principles I have already discussed P1 to P9. I do not want to discuss it now, you know this. Then what happened with in the alert zone kind of things. So, there will be different strategies designed for minimum risk, incorporate safety devices, provide warning devices, SOP institute training. These 9 principles we have mapped here. So, that means what you will do depending on your strategy, what are the principles you will be using. So, okay. So, what I suggest you here, it is clearly written what is to be done. So, you in the video you have a pause for the video and first note down this and then understand and use it. Now, come to the deployment matrix, which I want to explain it because this is important. So, maybe next 15 minutes time we will spend on this deployment and other slides. Okay. So, what you have known so far? You have known that there are initiating mechanism or hazard. So, this side we are using interchangeably this, but actually it is basically hazard which ultimately lead to the initiating event. So, there are suppose a different types of hazards or different hazards. Then what happened? We have already seen the hazard control hierarchy with 9 principles. These are design pointable from hazard control hierarchy. So, first you map these two, that the hazard with hazard control hierarchy, what are the mapping, how many with reference to one hazard, which of the principles that can be applied. Okay. And then there will be another axis known as design solution. Once you have hazard wise principle mapping, then based on your design knowledge, hazard knowledge and your lessons learned, then you will be able to find out some of the design solutions. So, what is the first level mapping? First level mapping is hazard versus design principle, which is basically 9 principles of hazard control hierarchy. Okay. So, let us now see this, that in order to see this, let me take a cross section, a cross section, and how it will look like. It will be something like this. Okay. So, here in this particular slide for H1, DP1, DP7 like this it is, these are applicable. So, that means DP1 and DP7 related design solutions will be there. If you take cross section, you are getting that this slide, that means this is my hazard, a particular hazard, maybe H1, maybe H5, whatever may be, and then you have seen that DP1 and DP2. So, what I want basically here, what we want basically here, you write hazard 1 to hazard 2 to hazard H. Okay. So, that will be better. So, then hazard 1, these many principles are applicable. You may get DS also in the other cross section, not problem, not issue. So, hazard these two, second one these two, third one may be this. So, that means you know what are the principles that will be applicable for the different hazards. Obviously, you have the system and design knowledge, otherwise you cannot do it. Okay. So, with reference to our example, the desulfurization unit, now let us see that we have 6 different hazards, then a group of 5 engineers who are basically having knowledge of this desulfurization plant, and for the existing plant they have developed it, that with reference to moisture in nitrogen line gas, they found out that this DP1, that avoid hazard, it is not possible for any of the hazards. So, this is totally ruled out, but for first one DP2, DP3 and DP4, principle 2, principle 3 and principle 4 are applicable. For the second one, P2, principle 2, 3 and principle 5 is applicable. For the third one, P2, P3 as well as P5 is applicable. For the fourth one, I think only DP6 is applicable. For the fifth one, DP4 is possible. For the sixth one, again that means the first one 1, 2, 3, that formation H6, that is P2, P3, these principles are possible. Then that team also found out that pressurization of ID design solution is not required as it is acceptable. Probability is very low, acceptable limit. So, this is not required. Nothing is required for this. Then design solution for H6 and H1 are similar. Based on your expert knowledge, what happened? You found out that based on your expert knowledge, found out that H1 and H6, for these two hazards, the solutions are similar. Here these three principles applicable and these three principles applicable. At the same way, from design knowledge they found that the similar design solution will help in fighting against these two initiating event or hazards. Okay. Similarly, H2 and H3, they are also same. So, H2, H3, they are also same. And H5, oxygen in magnesium silo, the probability value is also very low. Okay. So, that essentially that means H1, H2, H3 and H6, these are the hazards or the initiating event, whatever way you can, but initiating mechanism, but for the time we are always using hazard or initiating mechanism. So, let it be because from event tree point of view initiating mechanism, from the hazard triangle point of view is the hazard. Okay. And in between the transition from one to another, and as well as basically their nomenclature terminology you also know. So, I do not think that it will create any confusion to you. So, what you will do now, you have to find out the solutions with reference to these. So, how do you see the deployment? Moisture in nitrogen gas, what are the things about the hazard not possible? We say DP2, DP3, DP4 available, others are not applicable. The expert team found out that in order to use this principle, but if we use this principle, what are the intervention that can be put? If you use this principle, what are the interventions that can be put? If you use this principle, what are the interventions that can be put? Now, moisture analyzer, it is already there. So, please see that for the existing system, these things are to be put, means because of your expert knowledge or design knowledge, process knowledge you have. Now, with this approach, you are able to find out the solutions. So, that is the issue, that is what is basically we are saying the deployment. You have hazard knowledge, you have design knowledge, you have system knowledge, you have operation knowledge, you have the team. So, and we have given the total path, and now you are in a position to deploy it. So, it is, so for hazard 1 this is. Now, in the same manner, if you do for hazard 2, you are finding out some more. If you go for similarly hazard 3 and like this, and finally what happened, you have got so many for hazard 1 and 6, hazard 2 and 3. So, there are 5 solutions: moisture control, provision of heating arrangement, provision of separate argon line, complete shift, CO2 analyzer, stop operation, and here also there are another 5. Okay. So, that means with reference to this desulfurization plant, the team if we assume that they are expert really, then this is the good solution. If really they are not expert enough, definitely the solution is inferior. So, you should not rely on this solution. What is important here is that how to use SFD to ultimately reaching to design or redesign interventions, which we are talking about design solution. So that's why I have written here that DSS presented are possible solution not verified by expert designer and hence may not be relied upon. Further, any new DS may bring new hazards and hence be careful in implementing it. The step 10 of SFD is therefore very, the step 10 is 10th step is very crucial. Okay. So I have gone very quickly, and the reason is very obvious because most of the things are known to you, and I have just given you one after another in a systematic manner, so that you will be able to map hazard to design solution, and you will come out of few design solutions which can be implemented at the system level, shop floor level, and that is what is the purpose of this very important course, industrial safety in engineering. And we are really thankful to the 5-member team. Actually, they were the participants in one of the training program on industrial safety engineering. That is what I have organized with help of my colleagues. Okay. So if you like this lecture, I will be extremely happy because this is a concept what we have developed, and I want all of you should apply this whenever if you have this opportunity to apply, and if you find problem in understanding that how SFD to be applied, then definitely you can write to me or you can write in the discussion forum. Definitely it will give you much needed, that means much needed a tool that is required for you to actually do prevention through design in the plant. So, but this is one of the concepts only. Please do not think that this is the concept for finding out the design solution for safety related to safety, and we have already seen bow tie and the safety barriers, that is also, that can be also used and can be done. Similarly, there may be others like there is axiomatic design for AX, so many different concepts are available. Trees is another concept that is also available. So, okay, there are multiple many concepts available, so you can use them, but this concept what SFD I talk about, it is in line with the quality function deployment, because in quality function deployment our objective is design quality into the product. In safety function deployment our objective is design safety into the system or facility you are going to develop. Thank you very much.